Single mother Emma Fairweather, speaking for the first time, said she believes the 97-year-old Duke of Edinburgh's actions could have killed her, a friend and a 9-month-old baby if it hadn't been for their careful driving. The mother of two from King's Lynn, Norfolk, revealed that no one from the palace has tried to contact her to apologise, despite Buckingham Palace saying on Friday that contact had been made privately with the people in the other car and well wishes exchanged. Yesterday the Duke was back behind the wheel alone and without a seatbelt. But Emma said, "I still haven't had any contact from the royal household. Maybe he should prioritise that over test driving his new car." The royal fan says she feels ignored and rejected by the Duke and the Queen after Thursday's smash. She now questions whether the Duke, who was left bloodied and shaken by the small, should be allowed to continue driving and is considering a personal injury claim. Emma will spend her 46th birthday today on painkillers with her arm in a cast after being left with a broken wrist when the Duke's 4x4 plowed into the Kia that Emma, her 28-year-old friend, and her friend's baby were traveling in, flipping his car just outside the Sandringham estate on Thursday afternoon. Emma said yesterday it was thanks to her friend's careful driving that no one was killed, saying, "If she wasn't going at the speed limit, who knows what would have happened? Could someone have died?" Emma screamed from the front seat, "Where's the baby?" repeatedly in the wreckage, and says she fears someone could even have been killed if her pal, who she does not want to name, wasn't such a careful driver. She said, "We could see the Land Rover about 150 yards away from us at a junction, then it started to move. The speed limit was 60 miles per hour, but my friend was doing no more than 50 miles per hour. I kept thinking he was going to stop, but he didn't. Everything happened in slow motion. It must have been seconds, but it felt like half a lifetime." Emma had no idea the Duke of Edinburgh was in the other car and her first thought was for her friend's baby. She said, "I don't think I realized my side of the car hadn't taken most of the impact. A man opened the door and I screamed that there was a baby in the back that needed to get out first. But then everyone went over to the other car and I was panicking that they were going to forget about me. I'd never broken a bone before, but I knew my wrist was broken." Emma was eventually helped from the car by a passerby before witness Victoria Warne, 72, told her who the driver was. Mrs. Warne's husband Roy helped the Duke out of the car, who reportedly shouted, "My legs! My legs," as he was lifted out through the sunroof. Emma said, "The lady came over and said, 'You do know who that is, don't you?' I thought it was just an elderly gentleman, but she said, 'It's Prince Philip.' I was shocked. It was a very confusing emotion. I felt upset and overwhelmed." Emma says Philip was breathalyzed and treated before leaving the crash scene within 10 minutes and claims he was advised not to apologize to her in person. She then faced an agonizing wait for an ambulance before she was finally taken to hospital 2 hours later. She said, "I was pacing up and down because the pain was so bad. I feel like the impact of what has happened has been minimized because my injuries aren't as minor as they are being made out to be. I kept asking, why is the pain getting worse? Someone told me Prince Philip had been keen to talk to me, but a number of people advised him against it, but I can't be sure as I was very confused. I called my sister Sam in tears and said, 'I need you. I just needed a hug from my family.'" They were waiting for me at hospital and just put their arms around me. Emma waited to be treated in A&E as she watched footage of the crash she had just been involved in on the hospital TVs. She said, Sam was so glad she'd heard my voice, because she said, if she'd seen pictures of the crash without knowing I was okay, she'd have thought the worst. It was very surreal. Emma was sent home by medics after a series of x-rays revealed her wrist was fractured. She requires further tests over the next week to see if she'll need surgery. Meanwhile, she's been signed off from her new job as a support worker for care leavers for 2 months. Her teenage son is having to help her wash and dress. She said, people are talking a lot about Prince Philip's independence, but for the moment I've lost my independence. And Emma, who often attends the Christmas Day celebrations at Sandringham in the hope of catching a glimpse of the royals, claims the authorities are trying to silence her. She claims she was urged by a police officer not to speak publicly about the crash. But, despite reports, Emma says neither the prince nor anyone from the palace has contacted her to pass on well wishes. Emma says rather than a personal message from the royals, she was contacted by police who gave her a message from the Queen and Duke that made no sense. She said, I was advised not to speak to anyone and told to expect a call from the palace yesterday. I know the Queen is a busy lady, but I was really excited at the idea she might phone me. Instead, I got a call from a police family liaison officer. The message he passed on didn't even make sense. He said, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh would like to be remembered to you. I thought I'd at least have got a note and maybe some flowers, but I've heard nothing. The police haven't given me any emotional support either. She added, I love the royals, but I feel ignored and rejected, and I'm in a lot of pain. It would mean the world to me if Prince Philip said sorry, but I have no idea if he's sorry at all. What would it have taken for him and the Queen to send me a card and a bunch of flowers? Emma was the most seriously injured in the crash, with her friend, the 28-year-old Kia driver, suffering cuts to her knee, and the driver's 9-month-old baby who had a miracle escape in the back seat. All were treated at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in King's Lynn on the day of the crash and discharged. Despite her ordeal, Emma says she's still hoping the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh will reach out and says she'd forgive Philip if he got in touch. She said, he doesn't need any forgiveness from me, but of course I would forgive him. People make mistakes. But if he's broken dangerous driving law, he should face prosecution like anyone else would. She also told how she believes the 97-year-old royal should reflect on whether he should ever get behind the wheel again following the dramatic crash as his 4x4 flipped as it was T-boned at a junction. The prince, who told a passerby that he had blinded by the sun, was yesterday, seen driving in the Sandringham estate, near where the accident happened, in a replacement Land Rover Freelander which he collected on Friday. The Duke was wearing sunglasses. Emma said, I saw on the news that he'd had the car delivered. It was confusing. It was reported that the royal family planned to consider whether Prince Philip would continue driving. But to have a car delivered so soon puts out a very different message. This has upset me. He's not driving because he has no other way to do what he needs to do. I wouldn't compare him to an elderly gentleman who needed to leave the house to buy groceries and had no other choice but to drive. I respect that he is entitled to his life, but he has other options to use other than driving. I very much hope he'll consider stopping. Emma says she is now considering launching a personal injury claim. She said, "My priority first is recovery and my children. I'm anxious to know whether surgery has to happen first and how long I'll be dealing with this for." Emma also told how the crash came after a year of hell in which she lost her job and her marriage broke down. Emma said she felt things were finally looking up as she headed for a day at the beach in nearby Hunstanton with a friend just hours before the accident. She even jokingly texted her mum Helen saying, "It's almost been a week and nothing bad has happened." Emma suffered a tough year after being made redundant from her school safeguarding officer job 11 months ago. Shortly afterwards, her 18-month marriage hit the rocks. She said, "The last year has been very difficult. I've had a lot of bad luck, but I finally felt my life was going in the right direction." Despite the crash and her dismay over a lack of apology from the royals, Emma said she remains a loyal royal fan. "I still love him and the Queen. No one can change my views on that," Norfolk Constabulary said in a statement. "As is standard procedure with injury collisions, the incident will be investigated and any appropriate action taken. We are aware of the public interest in this case. However, as with any other investigation, it would be inappropriate to speculate on the causes of the collision until an investigation is carried out." The Duke of Edinburgh reportedly told onlookers that he was such a fool after the crash. Victoria Warne, 72, stopped at the scene with her husband Roy, 75, who freed the Duke from the wrecked vehicle. The retired NHS worker said, "The Prince steadied himself for 10 minutes after the crash, then started worrying about the others. He walked slowly down the path towards the crashed car without his protection officers and said, 'Is everyone all right?' I wasn't going to lie to him, so I said, 'Not really.' I told him the baby was fine, but we thought the passenger had broken her arm. He looked so worried and told me, 'I'm such a fool.'" The grandmother spoke to the occupants of the Kia, one of whom apparently told her, "I always wanted to meet a royal, but not this way." Prince Philip told me later, "The sun was low and I couldn't see, but he still came out and collided with the lady's vehicle.